The call of Abraham. Now this actually starts the whole purpose of the Bible, to talk about God as He works with His people. Everything up to this point has just been a backdrop, kind of a pre-story. Everything for 2,000 years, it's rush through to get the story, then finally it comes to this point right here, and all of a sudden we slow down as we walk through the life of Abraham. After the flood, people pretty much departed from following the one true God. There were exceptions. Abram to become Abraham. We have Melchizedek. We have Balaam. We have a few others. But generally, everyone else has departed. Although there's a healthy respect for God. It seems to be there's a knowledge of God and a respect and kind of a fear of God. But the people have chosen not to follow Him. When we come to this story, we see that Abraham leaves Ur, but actually it's Terah, his father, who takes the whole family and moves from Ur, going along that fertile crescent, and it says he was actually going to Canaan. Oh my, that opens up so many questions. Was it Terah that God had called to follow him and become the father of his nation? And when he got halfway to that fertile area up in the north, that he just got distracted and settled down and didn't follow God? Personally, I don't think so. I think it was Abraham that God had worked with. But it's just really interesting. But after Terah dies, Abraham is called out to go down to Canaan, which means he was walking away from quite a bit of wealth. When his father died, Abram was the oldest son, which means that he would have got a double portion of the inheritance. He just walked away from it, which kind of gives you an understanding that when Abraham sent a servant back to his family to get a wife for his son, that he was received really quite well. Oh yes, they thought highly of Abraham because basically they got their wealth just because he walked away. They're willing to give him whatever he wanted. When Abram arrives into Canaan, he arrives at a place called Shechem. Now, this is a valley between two mountains, Mount Gerizim and Mount Nebel. And it's in this valley, Shechem, where Abraham first comes, but it's also the place where when Jacob comes back to Canaan after getting his wives and his family, he comes to Shechem, the very same place. Years later, when Israel comes out of Egypt, Moses sends them over into the promised land and tells them to go to Shechem. Now they cross, they defeat Jericho and Ai, and then they go to this very same valley where they were to write the law, the entire law of God, and make a covenant with God. And everything happened right there. Years later, when the northern 10 tribes broke away from Judah and called themselves the Kingdom of Israel, Shechem was their first capital. But the interesting part is that when Jesus comes to this area, he goes this very same valley between these two mountains, and he sits on a well and he talks to the woman at the well and presents himself as Messiah to the Samaritans. Abram goes south, and most of his life is spent down in the south, the place that will be known as Beersheba. Here he has a life of living in tents, being a nomad, being conscious of water rights and grazing rights and having to move according to the seasons, a shepherd of goats and sheep. He has to work with his neighbors and keep peace with them. This is his life. Well, he goes to Egypt, and he becomes a wealthy man. And when he comes out, the wealth that he left when he left his homeland, he now regains that wealth. And actually, it sets it up for the next story when he is a very powerful man. So, come back next time when we'll give you more insights on the story.